Viewers and my dear students, I am Pavitra Kumar Bakali belonging to Afazuddin Memorial School and College. I am going to take a class for the students of class 12, English second paper, and today's question is changing sentence. Sometimes we call it transformation of sentences. And today's topic is voice, how to change voice. Okay, there is an universal definition of voice, but I would like to define it according to my way. Actually, voice is style of talking. When we talk something in English and it is subject oriented, then it is called active voice. And when we speak something in English and it is object oriented, it is called passive voice. So guys, you can define active voice and passive voice by detecting subject and object. But the problem is sometimes the same subject may be object, may be subject. So in that very case, you need to differentiate the structure of active voice from passive voice. Okay, let me come back. We have two kinds of voice. One is active voice, one is passive voice. Right? Okay. Active voice. First of all, let me just make it clear to you how to detect active voice. If you know the structure of 12 tenses, then you know these are all active voice, because all the 12 tenses maintain the structure of active voice. That means 12 tenses are always subject oriented. So that's why we can call it active voice. But passive voice, it is a little bit different. There is another structure for passive voice. The structure is object plus auxiliary verb plus V3 plus subject. So guys, you can easily differentiate passive voice from the active voice. You know why? Because this kind of structure is not available in 12 tenses except 3 perfect tenses. In 3 perfect tenses, you can see this kind of structure. This kind of structure is very rare in 12 tenses. Only exception is 3 perfect tense. In the 3 perfect tenses, you can see subject plus auxiliary verb plus V3 plus subject. Other than 3 perfect tenses, you cannot find any sentence in the active voice maintaining this structure. Suppose come back to continuous tense. All the continuous tenses like present continuous, present perfect continuous, past continuous, past perfect continuous, future continuous, future perfect continuous. All these continuous tenses, they have their own structure. Something like that, like auxiliary verb am, is, are, was, were, been, and then V1 plus ing. Right? But this kind of structure always maintain the structure of active voice. So in that very case, they are active voice. But passive voice, it is a little bit different. Different in the sense that you must have to have an auxiliary verb, then V3. So it is called passive voice. Let me give some example for the passive voice. Guys, let me write something like this. Okay. The cook is cooking a roast. So it is quite clear this very sentence is maintaining the structure of continuous tense, because is here as an auxiliary verb and then cooking continuous tense. So it is continuous tense. So it is called active voice. Active. But let me write something else. The roast was eaten by the cook. Here was auxiliary verb and then eaten main verb but past participle form. So what was supposed to be used after was? After was, usually we use B1 plus ing, right? But here after was we have the past participle form of eat. So this is called passive voice. So guys, now it is quite clear to you how to differentiate or how to identify active voice and passive voice. So when you see there is an use of auxiliary verb and then V3, it is called passive voice. But when the sentence maintains the structure of 12 tenses, then they are called active voice. Okay. Now, I would like to go to the core of voice. How to use auxiliary verbs or how to maintain the structure of passive voice. Use of auxiliary verbs. According to the tenses. Guys, you know very well, two tenses we don't have any auxiliary verb. One is present indefinite, one is past indefinite. But whenever we want to change the active voice into passive voice, especially in the present indefinite tense, you need to use am, is, are as auxiliary verbs and then V3 as a main verb. So suppose, pretty simple, I eat rice. Is there any use of auxiliary verb here? No, because I is subject and then eat main verb, then rice object. But in the passive voice, it is rice is eaten by me. In the passive voice, I have brought is auxiliary verb, then past participle of eat, then subject. Rice is object here. So guys, usually the students try to detect passive voice by identifying object and subject. There is a question here. Because here object is rice, subject is me. Now rice is working as subject and me is working as object. So this is passive voice, definitely. Let me write something different. Then you will see how to detect subject and object and how to detect passive voice and active voice. When the subject and objects are the same person, then what will you do? Suppose David is teaching English. Definitely it is active voice because it is maintaining the structure of continuous tense, right? It is active voice. And then David is being taught English. So, how do you define subject and object? Here, David is subject. Here, David is object. So, my question is, do you want to differentiate or identify active voice and passive voice by identifying subject and object, or by identifying auxiliary verb and then main verb? Definitely auxiliary verb and main verb. Here auxiliary verb is and then main verb plus ing. That means continuous tense. But here subject is the same person, David, is being taught. Have you ever seen the use of being in any tense? No, you have never seen. Being is used as auxiliary verb in the tense, but being is here is being used as auxiliary verb and then main verb is taught. So that's why if you can differentiate active voice from the passive voice, in that very case, first of all you need to know the 12 structure of tenses and the universal structure of passive voice. So today I have discussed in details how to differentiate passive voice from the active voice. Now I think it is clear to all of you, but I will give some more examples how to use auxiliary verbs in the passive voice. There are as many as 27, in some cases 29 auxiliary verbs, but I will say there are more than 29 auxiliary verbs. A lot of auxiliary verbs. Suppose have to, has to, need to. These are also auxiliary verbs. So, in that very case, what is supposed to be done when you go to change the active voice to passive voice? In that very case, to plus be plus B3 plus subject. In that very case, after to you have to use be and then V3 and then subject. That is the technique when you need to change active voice to passive voice. And let me give you some example. Suppose I have to buy a bicycle. Here I is subject, have to auxiliary verb, buy main verb, a bicycle object. Passive voice is a bicycle has to be bought by me. Is that clear to you? I have to buy a bicycle. আমার একটা bicycle কিনতে হবে. A bicycle has to be bought by me. একটা bicycle আমার দ্বারা কিনতে হবে. The Bengali meaning is something like that, right? Here, have to auxiliary verb here has to auxiliary verb. Because subject is first person, that's why I have used have to. Here the subject is third person singular number, that's why I have used has to. And then the compulsory auxiliary verb is be. That is the technique. Lots of be or have to, has to, need to, is going to, am going to, are going to, used to, ought to, lot of to auxiliary verbs, right? So in that very case, you have to use to be plus be3 then subject. Is that clear? So today what I have discussed with you, that is how to identify active voice and how to identify passive voice. Guys, that's all for today. See you anytime in my next class, then I will discuss something on different item. Thank you so much.